to the entertaining Talkin' Sports.
What is going on, Hoops fans? Back at it with another New York Knicks video. And in this video, I'm going to dive into the night that Julius Randle had last night when he dropped 44 points for the New York Knicks and kind of just talk about his overall play throughout the first half of the season and then kind of relive history with the Kristaps Porzingis trade and then kind of talk about just how badly we've beaten the Dallas Mavericks in that trade, something that we're not used to saying as New York Knicks fans. Usually when the Knicks go out there and they make a blockbuster trade, they're usually on the bad end of it. Well, so far, that KP trade may have been one of the greatest trades in New York Knicks history. And we're going to have to wait and see how it all plays out. Obviously, we don't know all the players that we're going to be receiving from that trade. We received 2 first-round picks, one in 2021, one in 2023. But I'm going to go over just what we know, at least as of now. And Julius Randle, of course, was one of the pieces we got from that trade. Not specifically from the trade, but the trade resulted in a lot of cap space, and we brought in Randle, who so far this year is averaging 23.1 points, 11 rebounds, and almost 6 assists, and at a very efficient rate. The guy's shooting over 40% from three-point land, over 80% from the charity stripe, and I think about 47 or 48% from the field. Much higher in all statistical categories off of last year. He's definitely slimmed down this year. You've seen him get a bigger role in the Tom Thibedeau offense, and he's taken to it. And he's had a fantastic year. Now, going into the year, I was one that was very outspoken to trading Julius Randle, by the trade deadline this year because I thought that the New York Knicks should try to get draft capital. Now, of course, that was before the way that I saw him play so far this year, and the Knicks still have him under another year's worth of control, in which they're only going to have to pay him $19 million, which is a bargain, the way that he's playing right now. I think Julius Randle should absolutely be headed to the All-Star game. And maybe some Knicks fans could definitely argue that this may be the optimal time to trade him, being that you're never going to get a higher value than you are now. But you could just as easily argue, with the way that Randle is playing, why can't he be a part of this team's future? I mean, right now, he's playing at an all-star level. He's still only 26 years old. He fits what Tom Thibedeau's looking to do, and the players seem to love playing with him. And in my opinion, the game that he had last night, I mean, you look at some of the shots that this guy's hitting, it's not just last night. His baseline fadeaway jumper is money, and he's been very efficient behind the three-point line, and you've definitely seen him and the other players on this team grow under Tom Thibedeau. I saw a tweet today that Fizdale's record with the Knicks was like 23-81, something ridiculous like that. And Thibedeau basically has the same squad. Obviously, some players have matured, but basically the same squad. And the Knicks are 14-15 under him, hovering around 500. I think they're going to beat the Orlando Magic, and I think they're going to get to 15-15. And I was blown away by the performance that Randle had last night. I thought that it warranted talking about. One of the better performances you've seen in quite some time, and I do think Randle will be headed to the All-Star game for the first time as a New York Knicks since Kristaps Porzingis in 2017 and 2018. And the Knicks are kind of in, if you remember back to that team, in a very similar spot to where they were with KP. You could definitely argue better because we have some more younger talent on this team. Guys like Immanuel, Quickley, guys like RJ Barrett. But we had an emerging superstar in Kristaps Porzingis, and we were hovering around 500. We had pending cap space. And we really saw a future. And then, of course, KP went down with the injury. But I think this team is in an even better spot because we have more future draft capital. We have other young talent outside of KP. Of course, we were hoping that Kevin Knox could morph into something. Didn't really work out. RJ Barrett has shown spurts. Of course, Immanuel Quickley. And you still have guys like Obi Toppin who could emerge into something. So this team is really in a good place. Really the best I've seen them in terms of young talent and growing since before we made that Carmelo Anthony trade and traded away a lot of those players. So I think there's reason for extreme optimism if you're a New York Knicks fan. And I really wanted to jump into the Kristaps Porzingis trade, which I will be the first to say I was livid when the New York Knicks traded Kristaps Porzingis, and I never thought that they would win this trade nearly as much as it looks like they're going to. But let's jump right into the trade and kind of analyze exactly what they got for Kristaps Porzingis. And I got this off Twitter. The initial trade for the New York Knicks at the top of this tree, and we're going to get to the bottom part of it, was KP. We traded away Kristaps Porzingis, Tim Hardaway Jr., and Courtney Lee. Of course, Hardaway and Lee were to clear cap space for the following offseason, in which a lot of Knicks fans thought we were going to go out there and do what the Nets did and try to get Kevin Durant and Kyrie Irving. Didn't end up working out, but in the end, it may work out for the better for the New York Knicks, and I'm going to explain why throughout this video. But in that trade, the Knicks initially got Dennis Smith Jr., a 2021 first-round pick by Dallas, DeAndre Jordan, if you look to the right of the chart, Wesley Matthews, and a 2023 first-round pick. Obviously, a big attractor from it was clearing the cap space. We're going to get into what they got from that cap space. Dennis Smith Jr., obviously, a couple weeks ago, then turned into Derrick Rose. So far, the KP trade, because we lost Matthews and Jordan to free agency, turned into 2 future first-round picks and Derrick Rose. Now, with the cap space, what the New York Knicks ended up doing with that $74 million in cap, if we scroll down, they got Bobby Portis, who's no longer on the team, so you could cross him off, Wayne Ellington, who's no longer on the team, Julius Randle, Morris, Reggie Bullock, Elfrid Payton, and Taj Gibson are still under contract with the New York Knicks. Randle by himself this year is having a better year, in my opinion, than Kristaps Porzingis has ever had as a Knick, and I'm a huge Kristaps Porzingis fan. Porzingis was more of a rim protector, and I think has more upside, but Randle is playing at an all-star level, and has higher numbers than Porzingis has ever had. And then as far as the Morris goes, we then traded Morris for a first-round pick in 2020, which ended up being the 23rd overall pick, and a second-round pick in 2021. Okay? So we're still going to draft a player there with that second-round pick in 2021. That may have been the pick that we traded for Rose. I'm not 100% sure on that. We also received Harkless, who ended up becoming a free agent. We then took that first-round pick. We drafted Ballamaro, I think that's how you pronounce it, and we traded down to the 25th pick, turned that into Immanuel Quickley, and a 2020 second-round pick at 33. We then took that and traded for a future second-round pick in 2023, which is supposed to be the draft where they could potentially let high school players into the draft, and it may be a stronger draft class in 2023 because of that. But ultimately, this trade, when you really look at it, it resulted in Immanuel Quickley, a 2023 second-round pick, a 2021 second-round pick, potentially more cap space when Bullock, Payton, and Gibson more than likely will not be returning to this roster, Julius Randle, Derrick Rose, and 2 future first-round picks in 2021 and 2023. When you really look at that trade and you analyze what we ended up getting for Kristaps Porzingis, it definitely helped build the future of this team. I mean, Julius Randle, to me, it could very well be a big part of the future of this team. I think Immanuel Quickley, obviously, is a big part of the future of this team. We've got multiple picks coming up, 2 of which will be in the first round from the Dallas Mavericks, which will be pieces to add to the future of this team. And the future looks great for the New York Knicks. As far as Randle goes, if that guy does not make the All-Star game at this point, I don't know what to tell you. It was being debated going into that game whether or not he should make an All-Star game. He put up 44 points. I believe it was a career high. One of the best performances I've seen as a New York Knicks fan in quite some time. In a big game against the Atlanta Hawks as the Knicks win 3 straight. I'm ecstatic as a New York Knicks fan right now. You just hope that they don't go and blow this up. But the Knicks, really, when you really analyze things, have a beautiful future. They're going to have enough cap space to try to bring in a big-ticket free agent next year, a ton of young talent, and a lot of future assets to potentially couple together and try to move up in a draft or to trade for a more proven player in the future. But I still think the Knicks got to stand true to the rebuild. Don't go crazy at the trade deadline this year. Continue to build up that young talent. And then in 2021, 2022, that's when you try to compete for a championship and make some big splashes. But you got to like where the Knicks are at right now, and you got to love what you've gotten from Julius Randle. As always, guys, if you like what you watch, please subscribe. Drop a comment. Maybe give me a little thumbs up. Cheers.